The night felt too quiet, as if the town was holding its breath. Alex stood alone on the porch, gripping a letter he never expected. The ink was smudged, but the warning was clear enough to freeze his chest. Someone knew his secret, the one he buried years ago. Someone wanted him to pay for it. A shadow moved at the end of the driveway, slow and deliberate. His phone buzzed with an unknown number, calling again and again. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because the voice in the letter promised that once he picked up, everything he feared would begin. Alex stepped back from the porch as the shadow disappeared. His breath trembled, but he forced himself to stay steady. He reread the letter, hoping the words had somehow changed. They hadn't, and the warning felt heavier with each glance. He folded the paper slowly, as if delaying what came next. The cool air pressed against his skin like an unwelcome hand. He locked the door behind him and checked every window twice. Old habits returned easily, the kind he thought he'd buried. He moved through the living room with careful, measured steps. The silence felt unnatural, like it was waiting for him. His phone buzzed again, vibrating against the kitchen counter sharply. The same unknown number flashed across the screen without mercy. Alex pressed decline without hesitation, heart pounding painfully fast. He tried to breathe, but the air felt thin and unsteady. He grabbed a glass of water, but his hands shook. The phone rang once more before he could lift it. He let it ring, each tone slicing through the room. The voicemail alert chimed seconds later, soft but chilling. He didn't check it, not yet, not tonight. He needed time, though he knew he didn't have any. He moved toward the old hallway mirror and studied his face. Lines he never noticed seemed sharper in the dim light. The past had carved itself deeper than he realized. He touched the edge of the mirror, grounding himself briefly. His reflection felt like a stranger carrying an old burden. He walked to his study and opened the bottom drawer. Inside lay a small metal box he hadn't touched in years. He unlocked it with a key hidden beneath loose floorboards. The lid creaked open, revealing photos and scraps of memory. He sifted through them slowly, searching for something specific. A picture of him and Daniel slipped free from the pile. He froze at the sight of their younger, careless smiles. The night everything changed felt closer than it should. He set the photo aside and kept digging through the box. A torn bracelet, a map, and a folded newspaper clipping surfaced. The clipping mentioned the incident with no names attached. He remembered how silence had protected him back then. Silence now felt like a trap, tightening around him. Another buzz from the phone echoed down the hallway. This time it wasn't a call, just a message alert. Alex approached the counter slowly, dread tightening his spine. The screen showed a single line from the unknown sender. "Stop hiding, you know what you owe." His hands went cold as he read the words again. Someone knew more than they should, more than he imagined. He glanced toward the front window cautiously, expecting movement. Nothing moved outside, yet the fear remained heavy. He closed the curtains, blocking out the quiet street. It felt safer not to see what waited beyond. He leaned against the wall, breathing through the panic rising. The past wasn't done with him, not by a long shot. Morning crept in slowly, but Alex barely noticed the light. He hadn't slept, not even for a moment. His thoughts circled the same memory like a predator. He replayed the incident with Daniel, piece by piece. It felt sharper now, as if time wanted him to remember. He walked to the kitchen and brewed coffee with shaking hands. The scent usually calmed him, but today it felt hollow. He checked his phone, hoping the message had vanished. It remained on the screen, cold and merciless. He deleted it, though he knew it changed nothing. A knock at the door made him flinch violently. He steadied himself and approached with slow, cautious steps. Through the peephole, he saw a familiar face. Emily stood outside, arms crossed, eyes full of concern. He hesitated before unlocking the door reluctantly. She stepped in and and studied his exhausted expression silently. "You look like you didn't sleep at all," she said quietly. He forced a small smile, but didn't answer. Emily glanced around the living room, as if expecting danger. She picked up on the tension instantly, just like she used to. "What happened?" she asked, voice firm but gentle. Alex avoided her eyes, unsure where to begin. He handed her the folded letter without speaking. Emily read it slowly, her face tightening with each line. When she finished, she looked at him with disbelief. "Who would send this? Who even knows?" she whispered. Alex rubbed his temples, feeling the weight return. "I thought no one," he said softly. Emily paced the room, processing the threat carefully. "You need to tell me everything," she insisted stubbornly. He sank onto the couch, feeling the strain in his chest. "The night with Daniel wasn't as simple as we said," he admitted. Emily stopped packing and stared at him intensely. "What do you mean? We told the truth," she replied. Alex shook his head slowly, guilt rising like a tide. "I left something out," he said, barely above a whisper. His confession hung in the air like a dark cloud. Emily approached him, eyes narrowing with worry and anger. "Alex, what did you leave out?" she demanded. He struggled to speak, the words choking him. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed again sharply. Emily snatched it before he could react. A new message glowed across the screen. "This is your final warning." Emily's breath caught as she read it aloud. She looked at Alex, fear breaking through her stern facade. "They're watching you," she said, voice trembling. Alex felt the room close in around him painfully. Every window, every shadow seemed suddenly alive. Emily grabbed his arm and pulled him to his feet. "We can't stay here," she insisted urgently. He hesitated, unsure if running would help. She tightened her grip, forcing him to meet her eyes. "If someone knows, they won't stop," she said with certainty. Her words hit him harder than the message itself. He nodded slowly, surrendering to the truth he'd avoided. The past had found him, and now it wanted more. Alex and Emily moved quickly, gathering what little they could carry. The sound of the wind outside felt heavier, almost suffocating. Every step toward the car felt like crossing a line they couldn't return from. Alex glanced back at the house, a pang of regret stabbing his chest. He locked the door, though he knew it would not protect them. Emily started the engine, eyes darting toward the street nervously. The road stretched ahead, empty and unforgiving in the gray light. Alex's phone buzzed again, though he hadn't turned it on. A new message lit the screen, brief and cutting. "Running won't save you." He showed it to Emily, her face pale and tense. "We need to find somewhere safe," she said urgently. Alex nodded, gripping the wheel tighter than necessary. They drove in silence, both lost in their own spiraling thoughts. Every passing car made them jump, expecting the unknown. Emily finally spoke, her voice trembling slightly. "Who could know all of this? How did they find you?" Alex shook his head, eyes fixed on the road. "I don't know," he admitted, voice low. "But it's someone close, someone who remembers everything." Emily's hand found his briefly, offering silent support. They drove past familiar streets, everything now feeling alien. Alex's mind raced with old memories he had tried to forget. The night with Daniel, the decisions made in panic and fear. Every choice suddenly seemed heavier, more consequential than before. Emily spoke again, breaking the tension slightly. "We can't go home. Not yet. We need to plan." Alex agreed silently, though his stomach twisted with dread. They turned onto a quieter road, seeking anonymity in shadows. Emily pulled out a map, her fingers tracing possible hideouts. "Maybe the cabin near Pine Ridge," she suggested softly. Alex considered it, weighing the distance and the risk. It was isolated, but it had been their refuge once before. He nodded finally, feeling the decision settle. The car's headlights cut through the morning fog relentlessly. Alex felt exposed, as if the mist carried their every move. A sense of being watched tightened in his chest again. They drove faster, desperation urging them onward. Emily's voice broke the silence once more. We need supplies, food, anything we can carry quietly. Alex made a mental list, thinking of what could help them survive. The old cabin appeared through the trees, hidden and inviting. They parked silently, hearts hammering, minds alert. Alex grabbed the duffel bag from the backseat, loaded with essentials. Emily checked the perimeter, making sure they weren't followed. The forest around them was quiet, almost unnaturally still. Alex felt the weight of the past pressing down relentlessly. The cabin door creaked as they entered, echoing through the empty space. Emily closed it carefully, bolting it as best she could. They set down their bags, catching their breath cautiously. Alex finally allowed himself a moment to sit, staring at the floor. Emily watched him silently, understanding his silent fear. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, hinting at what was coming. They were hidden for now, but the past had not finished hunting them. Alex unpacked the duffel bag slowly, checking every item carefully. Emily moved to the window, scanning the tree line for any movement. The forest was silent, yet the tension in the cabin was suffocating. He found a flashlight, batteries, and a small first aid kit. Emily handed him a bottle of water and a granola bar. They ate quietly, both lost in thought, barely tasting anything. Alex's phone buzzed again, though he had no signal. He ignored it, knowing the messages would come eventually. Emily crouched near the fireplace, making a small, safe fire. The warmth helped a little, though the fear lingered like smoke. Alex pulled out the map again, tracing their escape routes silently. He marked several back roads, old trails and hidden paths. Emily studied the map, pointing to a route through the hills. It's risky, but it might get us farther from anyone following. Alex nodded, weighing the risk versus the need for safety. The cabin seemed to close in around them as the morning passed. Alex remembered the nights with Daniel, every lie, every secret. The memories felt sharper now, almost as if they were alive. Emily noticed his hands, shaking, as he touched the old photos again. "They're after you because of the past," she said softly. Alex didn't respond, knowing she was right. He traced the lines of an old photograph, Daniel's smile frozen in time. Suddenly, a sound came from outside, sharp and deliberate. Emily froze, listening intently to the forest's unnatural quiet. Alex grabbed a kitchen knife, moving toward the window cautiously. A figure emerged from the shadows, just beyond the tree line. He tensed, unsure if it was friend or foe in the gray light. Emily stepped back, eyes wide with fear, holding her breath. The figure didn't move much, only watching, silent and patient. Alex lowered the knife slightly, trying to control his shaking. He whispered, "Who are you?" but the figure didn't respond. Then, almost imperceptibly, the figure turned and vanished into the trees. Emily exhaled slowly, relief and tension mixing painfully. Alex knew it was a warning, not just a scare. Someone was close, and they knew the cabin existed. Emily moved closer to him, offering silent comfort through touch. Alex felt the weight of inevitability, pressing harder than ever. They spent hours in tense silence, listening to every rustle. He finally whispered, "We need a plan, something permanent." Emily nodded, her face grim but determined. "We can't hide forever. We have to fight or escape smartly." Alex agreed, feeling a spark of resolve amid the fear. He packed a smaller bag, with essentials for a rapid escape. Emily gathered a few personal items, keeping it light and quiet. They checked the windows and doors, reinforcing them where possible. The forest remained silent, yet every shadow seemed alive. Alex glanced at Emily, noticing the fear in her eyes mirrored his own. "We stay alert, no mistakes," he whispered firmly. Emily nodded, determination hardening in her expression. Night approached slowly, the darkness heavier than before. They knew the past would not let them rest, not tonight, not ever. Alex and Emily prepared for the long hours ahead silently, patiently. Every creak, every whisper of wind reminded them they were not alone. They waited, tense and ready, for whatever was coming next. Night fell completely, shrouding the cabin in thick, impenetrable darkness. Alex kept watch by the window, eyes straining to see through the shadows. Emily checked their supplies one last time, counting everything carefully. The forest outside seemed alive, whispering secrets they could not hear. Every rustle of leaves made their hearts leap in unison. Alex double-checked the knives and tools they had packed for defense. Emily held a small flashlight, keeping it off to avoid attention. They both knew someone was watching, waiting for the perfect moment. Alex remembered the night with Daniel, guilt burning his chest anew. He couldn't escape the weight of the past, no matter how far they ran. Emily crouched beside him, whispering, "We can't let them break us." He nodded, feeling the tremor of fear in his stomach. Suddenly, a distant snap echoed through the trees outside. Both of them froze, listening intently to any follow-up sounds. The snap repeated, closer this time, deliberate and taunting. Alex grabbed a flashlight, turning it briefly toward the noise. Nothing moved, yet the sense of being watched intensified painfully. Emily gripped his arm, whispering, "We need to be ready." Alex nodded silently, scanning the perimeter through the darkened window. They spent hours crouched, alert, eyes adjusting to the shadows. Every small sound felt magnified, threatening to give them away. The wind rustled the treetops, sounding almost like whispers. Alex's phone vibrated in his pocket, signals still weak but messages arriving. A single line flashed across the screen, "Stop running or lose everything." Emily read it over his shoulder, her face paling with each word. Alex clenched his fists, the threat stirring anger as well as fear. They needed a plan beyond hiding, beyond fleeing blindly into the forest. Emily whispered, "We can't wait for them to decide our fate." Alex agreed, a plan forming in his mind despite exhaustion. They gathered their things, preparing to move under cover of darkness. The cabin door creaked slightly as Alex tested it, making sure it held. Emily checked the back window and the surrounding brush for movement. The snap outside came again, closer now, sharp and threatening. Alex felt his pulse spike, each heartbeat loud in the quiet night. Emily whispered, "We leave now quietly, step by step." Alex nodded, taking a deep breath to steady himself. They stepped outside, the cold night air biting their skin immediately. The forest loomed around them, shadows stretching like claws. Every step on the dry leaves sounded like an alarm in the silence. They moved slowly, whispering instructions and watching every shadow. A sudden rustle made them both stop, hearts hammering violently. Alex held his breath, motionless, waiting for a sign of danger. Minutes passed, the tension stretching unbearably thin between them. Finally, they reached the old trail leading toward the hills. Emily led the way, careful and precise, eyes scanning constantly. Alex followed closely, adrenaline and fear sharpening every sense. The forest seemed endless, yet they pushed forward, step by step. Every snap, every shift of the wind felt like a threat pursuing them. They didn't look back, focusing on the path ahead and their fragile safety. Night surrounded them completely, yet they moved, silent and determined. The past was chasing them, relentless, but they refused to surrender. Alex felt a spark of hope, fleeting but real, in the darkest of hours. Emily whispered, "We keep going no matter what waits for us next." Together, they vanished into the darkness, fighting the fear that clung tightly. The first light of dawn barely touched the forest floor as Alex and Emily moved. Their legs ached, but stopping wasn't an option, not now. Every sound made them flinch, every shadow felt like a threat. The hills stretched endlessly, hiding them from whatever followed. Alex checked the small compass in his pocket, trying to stay oriented. Emily carried the lighter bag, keeping her flashlight off to remain unseen. The forest was dense, but the path was familiar from years ago. Alex remembered running these trails with Daniel long ago, carefree. Now, they were running from something far darker than youth. A distant caw of a crow made Emily pause, ears straining. Alex motioned forward silently, refusing to let fear control them. They reached a small clearing, briefly allowing themselves a slowed pace. Emily scanned the horizon, searching for movement or danger. Alex crouched behind a rock, catching his breath and heart pounding. Every muscle in his body screamed exhaustion, but he kept going. The past weighed heavily, each step stirring old guilt anew. Emily touched his arm gently, grounding him, reminding him to stay alert. They moved on, deeper into the hills where few would follow. Alex noticed a faint trail marker they had overlooked in years past. Emily pointed it out, and they veered carefully toward it. The trail twisted through thick trees, shielding them from view. Alex's phone buzzed again, though the signal remained weak. Another message flashed briefly. "You cannot hide forever." Emily crumpled slightly at the words, but masked it quickly. Alex shoved the phone in his pocket, refusing to let it dictate fear. They moved faster now, urgency propelling them forward relentlessly. A sudden noise behind a tree made both freeze instantly. Alex gripped a stick defensively, ready for confrontation. Emily whispered, "It's probably just an animal," though uncertainty lingered. The sound repeated, closer, deliberate, and unnerving. Alex tensed, ready to strike if necessary, eyes scanning the darkness. A shadow moved between the trees, but it disappeared as quickly as it appeared. Emily exhaled slowly, relief mixing with growing anxiety. They kept moving, knowing pauses could cost them dearly. The sun began to rise, painting the hills in pale, muted light. Alex adjusted his grip on the bag, exhaustion pressing on his shoulders. Emily's eyes searched constantly, alert to every shifting shadow. They reached a small creek, water clear and inviting, a rare comfort. Alex knelt to drink, feeling the cold water revive him slightly. Emily filled a small bottle, careful not to waste a single drop. They paused briefly, resting muscles, but never letting guard down. The hills around them seemed endless, yet they moved forward steadily. Alex spotted an old cabin in the distance, hidden among trees. Emily's eyes lit up with cautious hope, signaling a potential refuge. They approached quietly, checking for any signs of intruders. The cabin appeared abandoned, doors worn but intact, a safe haven. Alex checked the perimeter, ensuring no one was following closely. Emily opened the door gently, peeking inside, confirming safety. They stepped in cautiously, relief flooding through them momentarily. Alex exhaled, feeling a temporary reprieve from the relentless chase. Emily set down the bags, and they finally allowed themselves to rest. The forest outside remained silent, but the threat was never far. They knew the past had not released its hold, but for now, they survived. Together, they sat in the cabin quietly, planning their next move carefully. The journey was far from over, yet they had reached a fragile safety. For the first time in days, they allowed themselves a small measure of hope. Alex and Emily sat in the quiet cabin, breathing slowly, hearts still racing. The forest outside was calm, but they knew the danger was not gone. Every shadow reminded them that someone was still watching, waiting. They checked their supplies again, making sure nothing was missing. Alex held Emily's hand, drawing strength from her presence silently. The past still haunted him, but the chase had given them a fragile clarity. They planned their next moves carefully, step by step with caution. Emily whispered, "We survived the night, that's what matters now." Alex nodded, feeling a mix of relief and lingering fear together. The sun climbed higher, light filtering through the cabin windows gently. For the first time, hope felt possible, small but undeniable. They knew the journey wasn't over, but they had found temporary safety. Alex looked outside, seeing the forest as both a prison and a shield. Emily squeezed his hand, a silent promise to face whatever came next. They stayed in the cabin, watching, waiting, planning, silently ready. The past had chased them, but for now they had claimed a fragile victory. Their breath slowed, heart steadied, and the forest held its secrets. Together, they faced the unknown, determined to survive whatever came. Hope lingered between them, fragile but real, as the light grew stronger. And in that moment, they understood survival was only the beginning.